I just ate a whole loaf of garlic bread. And I feel awful.
Hey, fun fans, it's We Enjoy. Coming to you with another Nic Cage movie this week as part of our Nic Cage-a-thon. We are the Mattitude Eric. I am Matt Fowler. Say hello, Eric Goldman.
Hi, everybody.
I had on in the background for the past couple hours. You may remember this channel from your cord attaching days, not your cord cutting days. Logo has reruns of Married with Children.
Oh.
With a show which I haven't seen in forever and definitely didn't watch, like, I would say the last half. It went on for 11 seasons. So I'm pretty sure I didn't watch like season 8 through 11.
11 seasons and then didn't get a proper finale.
Yeah, it didn't.
That's how it goes.
And then the episode that they actually filmed last wasn't even the one that aired last. So it wasn't a proper finale. Everything was weird. But man, this was episodes that I knew very well, and it was from the 1990 season when I think it was just firing on all cylinders, that show.
And 1990 is the year that The Simpsons properly began after the Christmas special. So it was like everything was coming up Fox. Like that was like their real, and 90210 was just beginning. So it was
Married with Children was just on fire because it had already been on. This was like season 3 or 4 at this point.
Right, because they were one of the launch shows for Fox as a network. Yeah.
And there's literally an episode that I remember so well, like so many of the lines too. I didn't even realize how much I sort of inadvertently committed to memory. But there was an episode literally where they're just about how they're poor. Like it's about how they're poor and they keep getting into car accidents. And then Al leads his family into court. And, you know, Kelly's got like the sunglasses on, pretending she's blind with a seeing eye dog. And like, they're all acting like they're injured. And I just remembered so much from that episode. And then the other one with Tia Carrere, where she's like, Kelly is competing with Tia Carrere to become like a car model. I don't know I don't know how much you used to watch Married with Children.
I watched it a pretty good amount, like not religiously. My brother watched it religiously, but I watched it a lot. And during the era you're describing, I watched it a lot. And I had a Kelly Bundy poster.
Kelly Bundy poster. I don't think I remember your Kelly Bundy poster, but yeah.
I had it. It was when I was, we were in separate coasts, but yeah, I had a Kelly Bundy poster for a while.
All right.
I'm trying to find my Kelly.
So my good thing to enjoy this week is all 11 seasons of Married with Children.
Hey, no judgment.
All right, we're gonna get into some news. A few people wrote in, and then we're gonna do our good things to enjoy, and then we're gonna get into Red Rock West, which is a lesser known, not just Nicolas Cage movie, but movie in general. It came out in 1993. It was a sort of a pulpy noir, modern noir, westerny movie. With some notable actors in it that didn't do well at all. It didn't really register at the box office, but has gone on to sort of been like one of the underlooked, underserviced movies of the 90s, underrated, if you will.
And what really struck me watching it now is how it's like, because it was barely released and, you know, certainly barely promoted. But I was like, man, I feel like if this movie had opened maybe a couple years later, I don't know. It's like you really could have milked the like Cage versus Hopper of it all.
Well, and like this was a huge year for Hopper. It was a year before he did Speed came out.
Yeah.
But this is 93. So he is at once Lyle in this movie, Red Rock West. He is also King Koopa. Like, it's a big year for Dennis Hopper. And he had his famous scene with Christopher Walken in True Romance.
Yeah.
So yeah, they could have, he was having a moment that this movie did not capitalize on at all. And Lara Flynn Boyle herself was still coming off of like Twin Peaks. But it just, I mean, even the poster, which this poster that we see as the sort of box art now has been the poster since 1993. It is terrible. But anyway, we'll get to that in the main event today. And then we'll announce what we're going to be doing next week. It's going to be one of Nic Cage's action movies, one of his big hits. All right. We briefly mentioned, we should also bring up the fact that we just recently recorded a breakout episode about The Batman. So if you've seen the movie and are ready to dive into full spoilers for that, give that a listen. And on that episode, we briefly mentioned the GCPD series that was headed to HBO Max that was supposed to take place during year one of Batman or a little bit before the Batman and possibly feature Jim Gordon, Jeffrey Wright coming in and playing Jim Gordon. But then showrunner or writer Terrence Winter left, and it is now being reported that it's morphed into a different type of show. So that GCPD show is kind of no more, and it is now taking a new, I don't know if you would call it a full horror show, but it's definitely going to focus on Arkham Asylum and the Arkham family, which, in the Batman movie is they're briefly mentioned as one of the founding families of Gotham.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so this is sort of going to tell their tale, which I assume also leads and culminates with the creation of Arkham Asylum. I don't know, but that's all we know right now.
It's just interesting because, look, things change, but a couple years ago, they announced that they were doing this Gotham PD show. And the Penguin show, it's funny, the Gotham PD show got like a press release. The Penguin show never was officially announced. The trades were saying it was happening. And now Matt Reeves, doing press, being asked about this constantly, has confirmed the Penguin show is happening. And first it was reported the Penguin show was going to happen first. So that was just a little surprise because the one that had been in development way longer was slower to happen. And now it turns out it's not happening at all because they've completely changed the idea. It makes sense to me. I mean, look, here's the thing. The TV show Gotham was on for 5 seasons, and it pretty much covered every facet of Batman. I mean, one thing you can make fun of about Gotham is that everything happened before he became Batman.
Every Batman story was addressed before he became Batman and usually landed in the lap of the action star of that show, Ben McKenzie's Jim Gordon.
And that was my point, is that even though it
even No Man's Land happened.
Yeah, even though it included everything, it's centered around the GCPD. And so it was, even though as much as we joke about how there's constantly a Batman or multiple live action Batmans, it still seems strange to be like, here's the second ever live action TV show spinoff of Batman. It's centered around Gotham PD just a couple years after a different show about Gotham PD ended.
It would be funny if it's not happening now, but if this GCPD show happened and that precinct got attacked and assaulted and shot up as much as the one on Gotham did, which was like the least safe place in all of Gotham, was being in that precinct. And who knows where this will go from there, but apparently, this just seemed to be the story that they thought was more interesting while in the development process of the other series. And, even coming out of the movie, The Batman, and people's reactions to it, I think also maybe had something to do with that. Like, what are things that are unexplored? And like you just mentioned, hasn't been addressed in any way, really.
Right.
On screen, big or small.
Also, it's interesting because we're just seeing this interesting thing of where we're at with DC adaptations where, okay, even though the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker are technically part of, what we call the DCEU, clearly James Gunn is just being let to do whatever he wants with his corner of that. And he's developing another TV show spinoff of the Suicide Squad that he hasn't revealed what it is yet. And Matt Reeves even more so because his stuff isn't connected at all to the DCEU. And so he's now developing, and he talked about how he can never do like an MCU movie just because it's like not his thing to like deal with someone else's kind of larger story. But now they're just letting him do whatever he wants to make his own Batman entire universe.
So we have like these directors with their own verses. So the Gunniverse and the Reevaverse and so forth. But especially since on HBO Max, we're getting a DCEU Batgirl movie spinoff from presumably J.K. Simmons Gordon, right? So, all right. Speaking of spinoffs,
I do like how his daughter is a spinoff of him. So yeah,
she's a spinoff. All children are just spinoffs.
You call your kids your spinoffs.
I do, and one day they'll be my requel.
Son, you're my requel.
Yeah, this is it. And
I want that to be like a touching Christmas time commercial.
It's like, am I a reboot-quel? Am I a requel? This is a franchise that people don't talk a lot about anymore, maybe in North America.
Right.
But it is we have addressed this on the show that it is a global hit, or else they wouldn't keep making this shit.
Yeah.
Which is Walking Dead, which has to this point now had its third spinoff is starting this summer, which is an anthology series. And it's got some pretty big names in it. We haven't brought it up on the show before, but we already had Fear the Walking Dead, which is going, I believe, into its 8th season.
Which is crazy. Yeah.
World Beyond was a weird experiment that they sort of kneecapped and was like, it's going to be a spinoff. And no, it's just going to be a 2-season limited series.
Right. It was like an expanded miniseries.
Taking place in a section of the world that we're supposed to get Rick Grimes movies for, which we don't even know. It would be so funny if we never found out what happened to Rick or Michonne.
Right.
And it's just left this dangling thread.
Which were announced to be theatrically released by Universal once upon a time. So
this was a couple years ago before things just started, interest in the show started to wane more than ever. Right.
And then of course theatrical releases waned more than ever. So there's a lot of reasons to
there's the COVID of it all. There's the COVID, the delay in the production, the additional sort of mostly boring 6 episodes they tacked on to season 10 that acted like a very sort of humdrum bridge into season 11, which is also a strange season divided into 3 parts of 8. I assume all these things, which, most notably, I can't remember what the big first notable one was. Maybe Breaking Bad, as far as like prestige TV, as far a final season being broken into 2. That was separated by a full year, though. But I assume it's contractual for like the actors. Like if they go into an actual new season,
that's almost always why they do that, is to not
like,
have
hey,
to pay them. Yeah.
It's not a new season. It's just a longer final season,
Right.
So, and especially on something like Walking Dead, where now, I may have talked about this on the podcast, the budgetary aspects of that show have shrunken to a very noticeable degree. It's always been a show with a large ensemble. Now that it's season 11, the bigger stars are you have to assume they're making fucking bank off that show. And that's why the Commonwealth now, which supposedly has 50,000 people in it, looks like it has 200 people in it. It just looks, they have enough money for like a good, decent town square, but that's kind of all you ever see of it. And it's supposed to be the end game for that storyline. And it's very unimpressive. That's not to say that there aren't some good things. I have mentioned on Twitter over and over that my end game, my only sole interest in this series is now watching Maggie and Negan hook up, get together, fall in love and or hate fuck. I don't know. Like, I don't care what like form it eventually actually takes, but I want them to smooch with tongue. And it seems to have been driving to that place on the show. And people often in my mentions, I get, you're crazy, I don't want that. I'm like, look at the show, look what they're doing. And now announced a new spinoff.
This is a long lead up to the actual news, Matt.
I know, it's the most we ever have talked about Walking Dead, or that anyone has in like 5 years.
I was about to be like, is he gonna actually say the news?
Nope. I'm just going to talk about how much I want Maggie and Negan to fuck on top of Glenn's grave. Yeah. And for young Herschel to be like, are you my daddy now? Yeah. And so it'd be great.
Well, maybe we're going to get it for 6 episodes.
So there's a new show called Isle of the Dead, and it will star Lauren Cohen and Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Maggie and Negan and their offbeat, crazy adventures in zombie-filled apocalyptic Manhattan. And that's really all we know about it at this point. What do they say? That, basically Manhattan was long ago cut off from the mainland. There's going to be 6 episodes to start, which is kind of how they did with Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead, a first season of 6. And I'm in because they're 2 of the 4, maybe 5 characters I still care about on the show. No word yet also on the Carol Daryl spinoff that was supposed to come. They just announced these things as the show seems to fade away in popularity.
That's the bizarre thing, right? It's like the show's been on for over a decade. The show is nowhere near what it once was in terms, it used to be the most popular show on television, remember? Very few people talk about it. Its viewership isn't what it once was. Again, its mere existence proves it's still making money, or it wouldn't still be producing new episodes. But the fact that not only is it taken this long to end, but they have now announced, on top of everything you just said, and I think you didn't even mention the anthology series coming.
No, I
this
did.
Summer.
I said that's coming. I did say
yeah.
that. Yeah.
But then the fact that two direct spin-offs starring the four most popular characters left.
Right.
On the show.
And in some aspects, it's like, hey, that spoils who survives. And in the other aspect, I'm like, I don't care. I want to watch a show, but I don't care that Maggie and Negan actually survive. It means they have more time for romance.
I just watch it all don't watch the show. I just observe it all from afar because I watched Walking Dead very, much for many years. And then I stopped several years ago, and it's just utterly bizarre. It's just kind of weird and sad to me. Cause some people will say on Twitter, if you get into it about it's like the fact that it's going to end on sort of a whimper, people are like, well, that happens for a lot of shows. I'm like, it does. It's just weird when Walking Dead, it was so big. And I can only compare it to Game of Thrones which whatever you think of the end of Game of Thrones, everyone was watching it. It was like,
it still went out on a high. Yes,
exactly. It went out on it was an event. It was like
you say the same thing about the Seinfeld finale, which people were met on, right? And it still went out on a super high. So
everyone cared what was happening, even if it pissed them off. Walking Dead is going to end with so much less attention than if it had ended, several years ago.
It would have at one point ended with bombastic fanfare, and now it's going to end with a pop gun and a wet fart. And basically, the stuff that's going on in the Commonwealth, which has really only grabbed hold in part 2 of the final season. So the second clump of 8 episodes, which is airing right now, is actually better than the year and a half that's preceded it. It's different. Daryl's doing a different thing. Everyone dealing with the Commonwealth, in living there and or not living there. Some people are back in Alexandria and in Hilltop, which interesting things are happening compared to it was such a trudge getting here. The end of the Reaver, not Reavers, or the Whisperers. There was another group called the Reapers. Anyway, the Whisperer War, after that, it was so it was just such a trudge and a sludge to get through. But anyway, I still watch it. If anyone has Walking Dead questions, I still watch the fucking thing.
Yeah, we've talked way more than I wanted to about Walking Dead, but I did want to make a point about all this, which is simply to say, I don't know if you follow Christian Acuna on Twitter, Matt, entertainment reporter, who is the person who I know on Twitter who most is still working the Walking Dead beat, which is to say constantly doing cast interviews and coverage. And she made some good points about why would they be doing what they're doing, which is ending the flagship show, but doing these 2 spinoffs about the most popular characters people were most invested in anyway, which also partially seems to be ruining that they're going to survive, we assume. Mm-hmm. But she did bring up a good point about streaming rights, and in this day and age, how these things work, which is Netflix, the Walking Dead streams on Netflix here, and overseas, I can't remember who has a long-term deal. It's not Netflix, but there's some other people that they have long-term deals with. And the fact that AMC might just be looking at it as if they end the show, they'll get the rights back sooner, which is to say, forget the Netflix produced shows for Marvel, which I know was even more confusing to people, but just look at Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. now, but Once Upon a Time, all these shows that have long-term licensing deals with Netflix that a couple years after their finale airs, that's when the rights go back to the studio. And so AMC won't get back Walking Dead unless Walking Dead ends and is done for a couple years. And they probably just want to get it all on fucking AMC Plus and just have it back. And they can't do that unless it ends. Of course, this circles back to the fact that they are milking the hell out of this. Yes. And why has this show gone on way longer than it ever should have in the first place? But because they have decided to milk it and keep milking it, they've probably, I think she's right, that's a factor in them deciding, let's just end the show, but keep all the characters people like in other shows, because then we will have full control of the licensing for the new shows. and we can put them on AMC Plus, and they're probably not going to Netflix. And then we'll get back the flagship show sooner because it's done. You know?
Maybe Maggie and Negan go to Manhattan. Maybe Daryl and Carol go to LA.
Sure.
And it's just like, cue Randy Newman, like coming out.
I just see Daryl's in a convertible.
I love LA, and he's driving through. He still sees crazy things that make him point and like take his hands off the steering wheel. And Carol's like, whoa, stop being a tourist.
And I'm back in.
All right. This also all connected to the Batman because Lauren Cohen and Jeffrey Dean Morgan obviously were also Batman's parents. Okay.
They were Batman's parents.
Tell me about I Am Legend. I didn't really read the news articles about this. I know there's a years later sequel happening. Is it a sequel?
It's a sequel, and it's the main confusing thing is spoilers for I Am Legend, guys, which opened in 2007, I believe. Will Smith died at the end of that movie.
Or did he?
Or did he?
Or did he? That doesn't sound like a legendary performance to me, dying at the end.
What everyone brings up is there was an alternate ending you could watch on the Blu-ray where he lived. And are they going to change their canon to have him survive? You be like, that's the real ending. The ending we didn't
weird.
Release
yeah.
Because he's back. He is being joined by Michael B. Jordan. Akiva Goldsman, who wrote the movie, is coming back to write it. They have not said who's directing it. Francis Lawrence directed the first one. They haven't said about him coming back. Sounds like not, if it's not like part of the package that they're going into it with. So the two things here that are weird are taking 12 years to even get this off the ground. And Will Smith confirmed it almost right away. He put an Instagram post with a picture of the city and tagged Michael B. Jordan. So it's like, okay, they're doing this movie together. And it's a kind of cool generational team up with the two of them. It's just, and I like I Am Legend, but it's just super weird, way late, and you killed the main character. So how's that going to work? It's just the weirdest thing about like striking while the iron has been very, very cold.
Maybe he'll run into Maggie and Negan. Maybe he'll run into Maggie and
Negan. I think it speaks to it because I think that's Warner Brothers. I can't remember, but it's just, I don't know. It just speaks to me about like, what is old cannot die, and old titles, and people remember that, and it was a popular movie once.
It is weird because that movie, I guess my only thought about it is that I thought the movie was fine. I don't have any lasting lingering memories from that movie, but I think the fact that like at 2007 it missed the boat, or it just landed in a way that it was made. This was basically like they had in their hand like a movie where he survived, right? And so they chose the better ending creatively, but then they were like, wait a minute, we are in the era of mega franchises and we never like even considered this or like gave it a chance. And they're like, what were we thinking? Like this was the decade of Harry Potter and Saw, and this movie aired right before the MCU started. And so now they're just sort of, I feel like they're kicking themselves a little bit where it's like, we should have gone with the other ending because this is the way of the movie world now,
And I will say, actually, I actually think in this case, most people think the better ending was the one they didn't use where he lived, because it was more directly the book's ending, which more directly was him realizing he was the monster that, it's like the perspective shift that,
okay.
And the movie, I think, has that a little bit.
It is in the movie because I do remember that.
It's in the movie, but then he dies in the original, the ending, the alternate ending. It's more direct. It's sort of more like kind of, it really digs in on that a little more. Okay. So him living isn't seen as like a, hooray thing. It's like a dark thing, but it's just going to be interesting, like how they decide they want to proceed.
Because I know that was a huge element of the original, the Omega Man, the original book that the original movie and then this movie is based on. But as long as Mike Patton returns as the voice of the whatever zombies, I'm in, because you can't do a I Am Legend movie without Mike Patton. That's what they say.
All right, I hope for that as well.
All right. We are on the Twitter machine at the Matt Fowler and the Eric Goldman, and We Enjoy Podcast. You can also write to us at weenjoypodcast@gmail.com and join our Patreon at patreon.com/We Enjoy Podcast to get a completely commercial-free and uninterrupted version of this podcast. And we have a message from someone, actually a couple very, very lightly this isn't we enjoy wrestling, but very lightly wrestling tinged messages here. The first one.
Matt, are you going to make this about Walking Dead?
If I can. No, I said wrestling.
No, I know. I was just joking.
Joey from Patreon writes in, he just wants to know, Eric, if you have sort of kept up with AEW, because you sort of said you would after Punk, and how that worked out. Because Revolution happened this past Sunday night. I actually went to a movie theater to watch it because AEW can't fix their fucking life when it comes to their streaming pay-per-views. If you have Apple TV or something that isn't an Xbox, or the BR app, Bleacher Report app is shit. Anyway, watching in a movie theater, I highly recommend. It was very fun.
Well, it's funny, Matt. I had a ticket to see it at the movie theater, and I canceled it because I had too much shit to watch, mostly for this podcast, including some things we haven't talked about, really. So that was a big factor in me not going to watch
Not watching 5 hours of wrestling
at the AMC Burbank. Yeah, because I actually thought that would be really fun. So another time. My answer is not really a little bit. The biggest obstacle to me is they're not on a streaming service. Like, I don't know.
Eric is a cord cutter. So
what it's going to take to get it on always say HBO Max, as everyone does, just because of the Warner Media, Warner Discovery, Warner, whatever the fuck they're going to be called now. Because that's like their cable partner. It's like, can they please get episodes of their show on a streamer to watch easily? I will sometimes watch clips on YouTube. I watched, the MJF Punk, like, that everyone was talking
some of the
about.
Highlights of the dog collar match.
Yeah. Well, I was but the promo, his big promo
from Dynamite, like leading into
it. And so stuff like that, I will touch upon, but it's really the biggest obstacle. I'd be watching it way more if I could simply watch it on a streaming service.
And it's one of those things where you can watch it on the Turner apps, but you have to sort of, I guess, subscribe to it. Like, I get Turner apps because I'm not a cord cutter and I have a Turner cable or satellite subscription anyway. But yeah,
and on the apps, there's still ads. Like, I'm just saying, get current.
No, there's live TV. You can watch live Turner on the Turner apps.
I know. But that's
all right. Joey then sort of bemoans the fact that he must now cross the to-be threshold. He's talking about how to watch today's main event, Red Rock West.
That's my favorite Robert Ludlum novel, The To-Be
Threshold. Yeah, it's from Clive Cussler. I feel like I also crossed the to-be threshold. I had never used it before, and I found it quite easy and delightful, Joey. Mm-hmm. I hope you did as well. And it certainly has better free movies on Tubi than there are on like Vudu, which seems to have the same like 8 schlock shitty movies always every month. And then he finishes by saying, I told myself I would never go back. Please just don't make me download Crackle. All right.
You never know.
Mike in San Antonio writes into just a regular old-fashioned email to weenjoypodcast@gmail.com. He writes, we enjoys between the Batman and AEW Revolution. I thought it was quite a weekend for enthusiasts of shitting your pants with your mouth wide open.
It's all aiming towards December when Avatar 2 is going to be the ultimate in that experience.
Eric, I don't know how I'm going to feel when I watch Avatar 2 and I don't shit myself with my mouth wide open. And I kind of want to now because I want that promise fulfilled.
We should mention has a little non-full news story, but the head of 20th Studios did a big interview last week where he was like, Avatar 2 is absolutely opening December. We're not moving it again. So just prep yourself, everyone. It's coming into this year.
Mike continues, anyway, as a longtime fan of the Foo Fighters and Dave Grohl, I felt a need to see Studio 666. Well, I would assume, that's the perfect reason to see that movie, Mike. I didn't really know what to expect, so I was pleased that it turned out to be a ton of fun with its quirky energy, funny cameos, and super gnarly deaths. Just wanted to see where you guys stand with the Foo. Does he want to know about the movie or the Foo, the Foo Fighter band?
Because those are two different answers. I saw the movie and I quite enjoyed it. Yeah, it's just super goofy, silly as you expect. It's super gory. It's a lark. It's a goof. It's fun. There's some jokes that are groaners. There's some jokes that made me laugh a lot. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was very. It's funny that there's Jenna Ortega has a very small part, although it, she kind of, she has an important role, but a very small role. But there's a couple of funny things that are very similar to her role in Scream that made me amused that because she's suddenly in a lot of horror movies right now. Anyway,
yeah, she's coming out in X, which I can't wait to see.
January, February, March. She has a horror movie for the first 3 months of this year.
All right. I did not see Studio 666, Mike, but the trailer looked fun. The trailer looked like everything you described it, the movie to be.
The movie is a huge bomb. Again, it's such a like niche cult thing anyway. But it's funny because I tweeted about my experience going to see it, being the only person in the theater until 2 minutes into the movie when two people showed up together, which kind of ruined it I was kind of psyched to be the only person in the theater. But it is funny that I saw another
get out of here. Yeah.
But another person I know tweeted about their experience completely seeing it. No one came into their showing, so I was a little jealous of them.
Where I stand on the Foo Fighters, I don't know. Do we want to get into a discussion about the Foo Fighters here?
I think we can both. We've talked about this a little bit before, which is Dave Grohl is awesome. They all seem like fun, likable guys, and none of their music is like does it for us as far as like this is great music. Like they have some catchy stuff, but I don't need to buy their albums. Like it's
so I have the first and second. All right,
I have the first one.
I have the first and second Foo Fighter album. I love the first one. That's the one where he didn't have a band, where Dave Grohl played all the instruments himself. Yep. It was off of Nirvana, and then by the second episode and by touring, he's like, I need to get a band. So he recruited Pat Smear and the Sunny Day Real Estate guys and all that. And the second album is where they kind of lost me. I think I like 2 songs off the second album, and the rest of it just didn't have the songwriting, the similar songwriting that was on the first record. Like I didn't like Monkey Wrench, which was like the biggest openings, the opening single from that album. So yeah, they kind of lost me from there. And from there on out, they've been sort of, the tide has sort of ebbed and flowed with them for me, like a hit or miss. Like I love this song, but that song's fine, whatever. So I've never been a super fan of the Foo. I do respect them utterly, but also am sad about the fact that they're kind of in the year of our Lord 2022, the last remaining big rock band act from the 90s. And the fact that we don't, and we've already talked about how every aspect of entertainment is so splintered and fragmented now because of all the avalanche of content. But yeah, just music is completely different than when Eric and I were growing up, as far as like how you discover it, the commonality people would have with various artists. Like we would all listen to same, so, it's not like we're all listening to the same stuff, but there were better, more easily accessible hubs for who we were growing up, as far as magazines and MTV and radio and stuff like that. And then I won't get into like what happened to music in the late 90s, as far as like how radio completely changed. That's a tirade for another day, and why like we went from a dozen awesome female artists on the radio to one, and Lilith Fair collapsed, and like why every station in the country became saturated with the same music. But yeah, they sort of stand out as far, I mean, obviously the Rolling Stones are like, I don't know, in their 80s and they're still performing. So there are giant rock acts out there, but like from our generation, they sort of stand alone, and there's been no one that's come along in that vein since. Anyway, that's the Foo.
That's the Foo. Only other thing I'll say is that I was slightly distracted watching the movie, because when Taylor Hawkins shows up, which is early because the band is in the movie, the whole movie, I got really distracted thinking, who did I know who dated Taylor Hawkins? I had a female friend who dated him, and I couldn't quite place it, but I think it was someone I worked with at the warehouse. But I was like, Warehouse Music, which was a music chain.
It was a music chain, yeah.
I was just, it was this distracting thing of being like, I knew someone who dated Taylor Hawkins, but I couldn't remember.
In lieu of me going on an actual rant about the 1996 Telecommunications Act, I will just say my old man yelling at cloud segment for this week is, hey, Eric, you know what I miss? Record store or music store listening stations.
Yeah, those are fun.
Where you go up and you put on the headphones that are filled with germs that everyone's been wearing for
sure.
And you just like push a CD and like, hey, what is let me hear what Bleed the Trees sounds like by fuck, who sang that song?
Feed the Tree or Bleed the Tree?
Feed the Trees. Feed the
Belly,
Tree.
and I just
Belly.
I
Yeah,
listened
Feed
to
the
that
Tree.
song twice last week, Matt.
Oh, good. Belly was awesome.
I love Belly.
I was getting
Tanya Donnelly, man.
Yeah, I got Feed the Trees mixed up with the Elysian Fields album Bleed Your Cedar. Okay. That's what happened there.
We are talking to the U's right now.
I don't care. I'm talking to myself right now. Okay, let's get into our good things to enjoy. Before we do that, let's announce next week's main event. We have decided to go with John Woo's Face Off. Face Off. That's face /off. Yep. Starring Nicolas Cage and John Travolta. Big hit for both those dudes. As well as the 90s wife, Joan Allen.
Mm-hmm.
And who else was in that? Was Gina Gershon in that?
Gina Gershon was in that. And Margaret Cho is oddly in that.
Yeah, she was like an FBI agent. Yeah.
And just for Woo, it was like really, I mean, it was his third American movie, but it's the one that kind of nailed it. You know,
yeah.
It's like,
and Eric and I were just rooting for Woo because we were such big fans from his Hong Kong movies, and he was sort of stumbling out of the gate here in America.
And I think most people would say his most successful, I mean, artistically as well, like the movie that was like captured the Woo essence best of his American films.
Yeah.
I think most people would say.
You heard us talk about one of his films during our Mission Impossible franchise.
Right, which did not nail.
All right, so Face Off for next week. Face Off at this point isn't streaming. It is rentable, though, at all the renty places.
All the renty places. Once again, you know, it's always the curiosity of like these rights and when things are available. Paramount is the studio behind Face Off. I don't know why it's not on Paramount Plus, but who knows anything these days.
All right, and let's we're gonna talk about Red Rock West, but first, our good things to enjoy this week. Eric, what is your recommendation?
My recommendation is a brand new movie, which, as we record this, is not available. But it will be this weekend on Disney Plus, which is Turning Red, the new Pixar movie. The strange thing of it being the third.
Oh, Pixar finally made a good movie.
Yes, they finally did it. They finally cracked the code.
It's been 2 decades, but yeah, they did it.
Yeah, took them long enough. Slow.
It's like 2.5 decades. Yeah, yeah.
It's the strange thing of it being the third Pixar movie in a row to go straight to Disney Plus. Which, you know, just stands out so much because they're not sending the Walt Disney Animation Studios movies straight to Disney Plus. Raya and Encanto get theatrical releases. Soul, Luca, and now Turning Red do not. It's very weird because Pixar has done very well for Disney through the years. But this is such a good movie. It's like a big favorite of mine. Of like, even though like I love Luca last year, but this one even more. I just think it's delight, Matt.
But Eric, I'm not an Asian from Toronto. How could I like this movie?
Yeah,
so we're referencing today's Twitter target of the day, which was a really horrible take from a less than ideal review of the movie, who totally doesn't understand how movies are actively empathy machines that make you actually experience other people's journeys. Anyway,
yeah, it was the reason the review got so slammed is not because he didn't like the movie. Everyone can have their own opinion, and some people will not like things that you like. Because again, I realize most people, as we're recording this, no one has seen this movie. It's not out, but people who hadn't seen it still slammed this review because he was such a strange thing about like it's so hyper specific about a 13-year-old in Toronto in 2002. I wasn't those things, so this movie's not for me. And everyone was like, what is your viewpoint
That's
here?
Every movie.
That's every movie.
You're not a cop from New York. How do you watch Die Hard? Like,
right. You're not a
every
gangster.
movie.
You're not a space wizard. It was just a very bizarre thing because I will say one of the things I love about this movie is how hyper specific is. It will come as no shock that the director, Domi Shi, was a 13-year-old in Toronto in the early 2000s. And I love that Sheila is like, I'm going to do it exactly about what my childhood was because I wasn't any of those things. I was not an Asian 13-year-old girl in Toronto in 2002, but I completely connected to this movie. And
but you were in 1987 when I met you,
right? Yeah, I was. I don't know if I was all those qualifiers, Matt. but no, it's if you've seen the trailers, you get the gist, which is a 13-year-old girl suddenly finds herself transforming into a Red Panda, there is definitely some echoes of Teen Wolf, because it turns out it's like a family thing that she finds out all the women in her family happens to. It's kind of a Hulk scenario, as far as if she gets too emotional, it'll happen. It's funny, it's charming. And like I said, I love that it was such a hyper specific time. It made me feel old as shit, because I go at the beginning of the movie, I go 2002. Why make it so recent? And then I go, oh god, that's 20 years ago. What's all this? You know?
No, don't you know that 10 years ago was 1990, Eric?
Right.
No year after the year 2000 has counted for us.
That's true. But no, it's great. I watched it by myself in a hotel in Orlando on my laptop, and I loved it. And then I said to Trish, you have to watch this movie. And I showed it to her, and she loved it. And she wanted to show it to her mom. And no, it's just really, you know, again, as we joke, you know, Pixar's they kind of nailed this thing in many times before, but I think there is something, you know, about this one that makes it sort of especially charming and likable. And you know, animation, the years ago they figured out, you know, even before, you know, The Incredibles was one of the first examples of them figuring out not to try to make their characters look 100% realistic, or you hit that weird Uncanny Valley thing. This one has a lot of fun with that. It's great animation, but they get kind of cartoony. They have anime eyes sometimes, her and her friends. And it all really works well. And I really dug it. And I'm going to go see it I'm very bummed it's not getting a theatrical release, because I think it will play so well with an audience. There are moments in this movie. Again, one of the other reasons I didn't like that review is like, there are moments where her mother is embarrassing her, that you do not have to be a 13-year-old girl to be like, oh my God, her mom is doing the most embarrassing thing, and feel like a horror movie.
First of all, Eric, you grew up with Carol Goldman.
I grew up with Carol Goldman. So if your parent has embarrassed you, you can relate to an embarrassing parent, is my point. And I think it'll play great with an audience, which is why I'm lucky, because in Los Angeles, the El Capitan, the Disney-owned theater, is going to play this movie, and I'm going to go see it there. Because
you should.
Yes.
I'm lucky because in 2 weeks I'm going to see a live show, as they are now back on tour following a show that actually had to get postponed because of the 2020 pandemic. I'm going to see Letterkenny. Nice. Letterkenny live, and I've never seen their live touring show. But that brings me to my recommendation this week, which is Letterkenny. Now, I feel like a lot of our listeners may actually already listen to Letterkenny. It is a very immensely quotable cult series. It is not like absolutely astronomically popular, but it is sort of like known as being. It is now in season 10. They have very short seasons. Short, you know, these are short episodes, and they sort of break out in 6. I think their seasons are 6 or 7. So you can binge them right when they come out. It is how do I describe Letterkenny? Basically, it's set in a small town in Ontario, Canada. It's based on an actual town that creator Jared Kiso, who also stars in the series, grew up in. And it is a hang show. It involves the Hicks, who are the people who work on the farm, the Skids, who are sort of the drug dealers, EMD listening, sort of, dropper outers of society, and the jocks, the hockey players in town. And there's other colorful characters, and it is a pun machine. It's a very mannered, very hyper-specific style of comedy that they deliver, the way that they communicate with each other, their delivery, the back and forth banter that they have. It's very specific to Letterkenny. Very specific to Canada as well. So, you know, I pick up on some Canadianisms that I'm not familiar with. And it is also extremely creatively vulgar. It is not a family show. And it got in the news a few weeks ago because there's actually a spinoff coming called Shoresy, based on a character who is probably has the filthiest mouth on the show, voiced by Jared Kiso, who plays sort of the lead of the show. But you only see the back of his head. So we know it's Jared doing it, but we never see what the character of Shoresy looks like. But now we will. It'll just be Jared Kiso playing Shoresy as he moves to a different town, playing a different character. But yeah, it basically is Wayne and his sister Katie and their friends Daryl and Squirrely Dan talking about life and running into the locals who are having their own troubles, and they date people, they break up, they have feuds. There's a couple in town who are swingers. it's a good time on the old Hulu, which is where you can watch it here in America.
I've never seen it. You are one of many good friends with similar sensibilities who recommends it, so I think I'd like it a lot. I was very confused and startled last year when I looked it up and saw there were 10 seasons, and then I saw that they do these short seasons and sometimes they do 2 in a year. Because I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, they do 2 so that's the thing. If any other streaming service, they would just call it the same season and split it into 2.
Right.
They just call it a new season, like we were talking about earlier. They're like, no, this is still 6 episodes, but it is a different
it's
season.
Like
of
the
TV.
Brits, except that they actually do 2 a year instead of 1 every 4 years.
Yes,
So.
it is an American production paced show, but it is very British because they also have a handful of holiday specials because they have a St. Patrick's Day, a Halloween.
I noticed
they actually, and bring it up because I haven't watched it yet. Because of today, they released an International Women's Day special, which I haven't caught. So, but yeah, it's very funny. There's also a bizarre online casting movement to get Jared Keeso to play Wolverine, which I guess I pretty much endorse, I think.
Because he's Canadian.
And he's hairy and he's burly and he gets into fights. Yeah, give it a try. It especially God Almighty, if you love puns. Fucking A. Like, they would this is basically takes what Weird Al started. Weird Al did not invent the pun, but builds on it to otherworldly levels. There's even some wrestling talk, Eric. Some wrestling talk.
We enjoy that.
All right, that's my recommendation. It's all 10 seasons, and the holiday specials are on Hulu. All right. Let's get into Red Rock West, Eric. Next week is Face Off.
Red Rock West.
And this was your first time, yes?
Okay, here's a little bit of confusion on my part. I thought I'd seen it once before, and then watching it, I had no recollection of it. And usually I will have, like, I'm pretty good with movie recollection. So then I doubt myself. Now I think I haven't seen this movie, or I don't know why I wouldn't have recalled.
Maybe you caught it on cable, like a few scenes.
Because I liked this movie watching it this week, but since I didn't remember any details, and keep in mind, this would have been post Twin Peaks, and so Lara Flynn Boyle would have been hyper aware of her. I think I didn't see this movie. My new decision is I probably didn't see this movie before.
I've come to the conclusion I'd never heard of this movie
the
before.
Science is there. But I quite enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, I talked about John Dahl before. He co-wrote and directed this movie, and he was sort of had a little burgeoning career here as a neo-noir director with a movie right before this called Kill Me Again, which starred Val Kilmer and Joanne Whalley, who they would meet, and she would become Joanne Whalley Kilmer after that movie. Mm-hmm. And then his biggest noir movie would come after this, which is was also critically lauded, which was The Last Seduction with Linda Fiorentino.
Yeah.
Now he directs a shit ton of TV. But Red Rock West was, I was surprised it was made for, I figured it would be made for less than $7 million, but it had a $7 million budget. We mentioned at the top of the episode, there's some notable names here like Dennis Hopper and Lara Flynn Boyle, Dwight Yoakam, who, man, I wonder what Dwight Yoakam's first acting gig was.
Right, because Sling Blade's after this. I don't know.
Yeah,
I will tell you that my wife...
Actually, I'm looking very quickly at his filmography. This was his first role.
Okay. The funny thing is, Trish loves country music, and so she wasn't watching this movie with me, but then she goes, I love this song in the closing credits because it's a Dwight Yoakam song.
Oh, I heard the country song. I didn't. I should have actually gathered that it was Dwight Yoakam, but I did not. I am very ignorant of country music. Dennis Hopper, we already mentioned the big King Koopa year he was about to have or was having at this time.
Well, and also Dennis Hopper, it's funny because recently I rewatched all the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies because of the new one coming out. And, Hopper, it was funny when I was watching Chainsaw Massacre 2, which he stars in, and like thinking about what an insane 86 he had, because that was his like comeback year. And within 3 months, Chainsaw Massacre 2, Blue Velvet, and Hoosiers, which gets him an Oscar nomination, all come out. And then suddenly he's like kind of back in the mix.
What I didn't realize about Dennis Hopper in 1990 was that he had decades-long career, and especially one attached to directing Easy Rider and sort of being part of the hippie movement of the late 60s, so that I didn't get the bit that was his casting in Flashback with Kiefer Sutherland.
Right.
Which I saw in the theater, and I knew had to be some funny reason why this guy was playing the old hippie.
Right.
But I didn't know his filmography at that point and hadn't seen anything. I think I'd probably seen Hoosiers. I don't think I'd seen Blue Velvet yet. Which I feel like Lyle in this movie is dressed a little similarly to Frank Booth from Blue Velvet, and he just doesn't burst into a room and go, "Let's fuck," you know.
Right. The other reason I didn't think I'd ever seen this movie, though, was my surprise at seeing J.T. Walsh's name in the opening credits. A pleasant surprise, to be sure. Second time we're talking about a J.T. Walsh movie, because he was the villain in Breakdown, of course. And what I was surprised and happy, and also I was surprised by his credit, because he gets a prestige credit. He gets it and J.T. Walsh, which surprised A, because you'd think Dennis Hopper would get that credit, and B, because I didn't know who J.T. Walsh was when Breakdown came out. Later on, I realized, I've seen him in a million movies.
Right.
Of course, I've seen him in Good Morning Vietnam and all these different things. But because he was a real character actor, not like a Dennis Hopper, like gets showy roles character actor, I'm surprised he got a prestige credit on this movie. Not that he didn't deserve it. It's just a good job, J.T. Walsh's representation for getting.
And he would also be in The Last Seduction.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's a sort of a mini John Dahl player, I guess. Mm-hmm. He has a huge role in this movie. There's really only 4 principals in this movie, so he's one of the 4. And he's just the one that's not on the poster, sadly. It's
right.
Great. What if he was front and center?
That'd be great.
It would be amazing. So it's interesting because we're doing a Nicolas Cage-a-thon. All of this obviously will change with next week's Face Off, but we haven't picked the craziest roles in his oeuvre. You know what I'm saying? Like, he had some fun over the top deliveries in Moonstruck, but he's not crazy Nicolas Cage. And this is one of his most muted performances, which I really enjoy.
I mean, because I'm gonna repeat a little bit of this on Face Off, but it's like because there's the false belief from people that's how he always acts, and Face Off being one of the biggest hits he was in, I think led a lot to that. And because he was purposely going as big as he could in that movie, because of the nature of the movie and the role. But he doesn't do that all the time. First of all, either he does it in little moments, or just sometimes he doesn't do it at all. Like in Pig.
Well, in Wally's Wonderworld, I believe that's the correct title of that movie. Yeah. I already mentioned his character doesn't speak the whole movie, so there's nothing crazy to do except the premise and kill the demonic animatronics. But
he's because Raising Arizona, he's underplaying, but it's still kind of a very specific character. But as far as like it's a heightened character, even if it's not like going big with it. But this is just like a guy, and he's got a couple little moments. But for the most part,
I think he says like "fuck Mexico," or he raises his voice only a few times, but he is really kind of doing, because this is a modern day sort of Western noir film of a drifter caught up in a bunch of shit. A lot of books have been written like this. Some of them have been made into movies. U-Turn, which was based on a book which Oliver Stone did, is like this. Guy wanders into town, gets caught up in shit that gets him in trouble, and everyone's sort of conniving on both sides. And he's doing an everyman performance here. He's capable. He was in the Marines, so we know that he comes with sort of a set of skills that can, survival skills that can lead him out of scrapes. But he's the drifter guy. He's the guy who you have to join him on his basically all of the decision trees he has to make. Like, what do I do in this moment? And he's the good guy who's always trying to do the right thing at certain points, Yeah,
I mean, I guess I wouldn't say always trying to do the right thing, but we know from the start that he at least has some sort of code or some sort of even just the fact that he's upfront with the guy about his bum leg, which costs him the job. It's like, okay, he's not like a terrible person. And the fact that while yes, in the moment, desperate for money, he doesn't say to JT Walsh, like, what are you saying? I'm not who you're talking to.
Well, but so he's analyzing what the right thing to do is, and the right thing to do is obviously he's going to line his own pockets, but he's also going to warn the wife,
right? But he's never going to like kill her, like it's never.
And he writes a note.
Yes, he writes a nice.
Always
note.
leave a note. And he's rocking an awesome denim vest.
I put denim jacket in all caps.
Denim jacket because it's amazing. Not as great as Martin Sheen's in Badlands, but it's a top contender for sure. He's rocking the double denim. I love it. He's doing one-armed Jack Palance push-ups in the middle of the street to keep his body taut while he's living out of his car.
Well water to shave.
Yeah, he's
I don't like that.
Well, how do you know it's gross?
But yeah, and of course the big.
I know why you think it's gross.
Why?
Because of The Walking Dead.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. I wrapped it in. I wrapped it all back together.
The well walker. I did forget about him. Horror Nights had the well walker. That was pretty neat. The other I forgot, of course, the much bigger moment to show that he's not a bad guy early is when he doesn't take the money from the register. In the gas station, which that guy was first of all, shame on that guy for leaving that register open while he goes to take a leak or whatever was happening. But yeah, he
it was a test. And he's like, I just want to shoot somebody, so I'm waiting for somebody to rob me.
Right. It's not a test. It's not a test to reward someone. It's just a test.
No, it's like I want to shoot someone. So this takes place in Wyoming. So he's from Texas. He drove up to Wyoming for this job.
And Lyle is from Texas as well. Hopper's character.
So everyone's making these long road trips up to Wyoming, and no one's flying, I guess. So yeah, he doesn't get this job. He's he spends his last money on filling his tank up with gas, and then goes to a bar just in hopes of getting on sort of a drilling team. And he walks in and is instantly mistaken for a hitman from Dallas. And when all you have to go on is random strangers walking into your bar and their license plates saying they're from Texas, I feel like Wayne, as acting sheriff, should have been a little more careful. Like, don't lead. Don't be like, hey, you're Lyle, right? Here for the job. Like, let them make the first statement.
Right.
But yeah, so it basically mistaken identity, and he gets caught up in a husband's scheme to murder his wife. They have a ranch. And we find out all the things about them later. But at this point, our lead, Michael, sort of very bland name of Michael Williams. He's just, he sees the stack of cash. He can't resist it, but he also has to, he doesn't just leave town with it. He could have just drove away. Right. Instead, he goes, talks to Laura Flynn Boyle's character named Suzanne. And that's one of her names. And then
he gets more money out of her because
gets more money out of her, and also like finds out that she's just sort of as scheming as her husband,
right? Because
she wants to like hire him to kill him back. Then he writes, this is the nicest thing he does in the whole movie. It's like, dear sheriff, this couple.
By the time you read these lines, a husband and wife will have killed each other.
Yeah. Way to bring it all back to Dear John.
I always do.
Yeah. So, and then I think the funnest twist of the movie happens really early, because there's twists later about how they're not even who they say they are, and they're actually a couple who were on the run together after stealing money. But the biggest twist and the funnest twist is right in the hospital at the beginning, when the sheriff is revealed to be the same guy who owned the bar, JT Walsh's Wayne. And that's really a fun, tense moment. Now, I sort of skipped over the fact that he hits another dude on the way out.
Because I was going to say, to me, it's the 1-2 punch of these two things happening. It's like that he's going to make it out of this town with two people's money who want to have each other killed, and that the first just like holy shit, because it's just out of nowhere, literally, is he drives into someone, and that because he's a good person, he takes them back into the town to the hospital.
He wrestles with it. Yes. He's like, but he does the right thing.
But he does it.
To the hospital,
and that's when the big plot twist, not just the incident twist, happens, which is finding out that the guy who hired him to kill his wife is the local sheriff,
and then also that the guy was shot.
Right.
So
right.
he probably just assumed the bleeding was from the car accident, but that he had also been shot previous to that. So that adds a whole like who shot the guy, who was the guy, and that's all sort of revealed as the onion peels later on. But yeah, then it's sort of then we get it's a fun twist, but it's not I don't think it's as good as the sheriff one. Then it's basically the whole thing of the real Lyle showing up.
Right.
As far as like Dennis Hopper arrives on the scene.
Which because Dennis Hopper conspicuously is not in the first half hour of this movie, you're like waiting for Hopper. Where's Hopper?
Yeah.
And then he turns out to be this guy.
But and you know, they do get to sort of bond with each other over being veterans.
My main criticism of this movie, which I really liked, is Hopper is so buddy with him. And then once he finds out that, you know, oh, this guy is like, you know, the guy who's supposed to hire me wants him dead. There's nothing ever really comes back to their initial bond as veterans or anything. It just seemed like Hopper goes full psycho Hopper, and it felt like there was a little bit of a missing thing of this connection they had. Just should have come back in some way. I'm not saying it should have stopped Hopper.
No, but like they could have brought it up again.
It just felt like it should have come back.
A couple bits of dialogue. No, I see what you're saying for sure. And then basically there's a lot of breakdown moments here too, not just JT Walsh, but you know, like escaping and being shot at by a rifle. Reminded me a lot of Kurt Russell being sort of stalked in Breakdown, and then just trying to get out of the situation where he goes to buy him a drink and they're drinking, and then what happened? Does Wayne come in?
Yes, Wayne. Cage goes into the bathroom, and that's when Wayne comes in, and he sees that before he leaves the bathroom, and then he goes out the window.
Yeah, he goes out the window.
Yeah.
Now let's talk also about, because they've been already introduced, the two other sort of unsung heroes of this movie, which are the two deputies, Wayne's actual deputies, who wind up sort of finding out that their own sheriff has secrets and are like not, you know, they're not like his goon squad. You know what I mean?
This is something I loved about the movie, was that these guys are competent and figure it out a little bit off camera, because we see them find the money in Cage's car, and instead of it being like he must be the criminal, it kind of leads them back to what's going on with Wayne. And I like that a lot. By the way, another returning We Enjoy actor here, which is the main deputy, is Timothy Carhart, who played the boyfriend in Candyman Farewell to the Flesh.
He did. He was also the villain in Beverly Hills Cop 3.
Yes.
At not Disney World. Yeah. All right.
But yeah, I think it's a really cool, it's a nice element in the movie, because like you said, most of the time these guys would either be completely in on it with Wayne, like they know he's a bad guy and they're helping him, or just totally incompetent and like just saps, you know. But instead they figure they're onto him and they try to stop him, which I thought was they
actually arrest their fucking sheriff and bring him in later on.
Right.
Like they're piecing down clues mostly off screen, like you said. They find the money in the glove box. They find, and the note, they're the ones who actually get the note that the letter that he sent to the sheriff.
Right. So, yeah. Instead of it being like, because once you find out he's the sheriff, I'm like, oh, he'll get the note, so it will be meaningless. But it's not meaningless. So yeah,
no, it's not.
I like that a lot.
All right. So yeah, then it's sort of like the action sequence of like him escaping. This is the Dwight Yoakam scene, because he hides out on top of a truck.
Also it's a fun thing where he puts that plank across from the roof to the truck. Yeah.
So he crosses over. Philippe Petit style, as a famous tightrope walker. Okay.
My notes said Dwight Yoakam ?
I thought you said Philippe Petit.
No, just because I wasn't 100% sure it was Yoakam at first, so I had Dwight Yoakam ?
And then Trish was like, "It's Dwight Yoakam ! Exclamation point!" Yeah.
Right. So, and this is also where a funny, I think, obvious, purposely like dark comical thing, which is he can't stay out of this town. Like, it's like he keeps being brought back into it or have to go back into it. We keep seeing the sign of the Welcome to Red Rock. That it's like, it's like this little Twilight Zone scenario or Groundhog Day scenario of he keeps having to go back in.
And then, or even in the Mouth of Madness, like which we did on this show. Then he has to go warn Suzanne one more time. And that's when Lyle actually shows up. He knocks him out. And now Michael and Suzanne are on the run. And also,
I just want to say that you mentioned that Cage, in my notes, I put the same as you, that a Cage out, like going big moment is yes later on when he says fuck Mexico. But I think the one other one is the part we're just talking about when he says to her, your friend, the ranch hand, he's been shot. He goes into the full Cage there.
And later we find out that she shot him. Well, we forgot the biggest clue that the deputies actually get is the wanted flyer for both of them. So
that would be a big clue.
That would be the biggest clue. Like they probably had suspicions up until then, but now they're like, oh, okay.
Right.
So this is like sort of a timeout in the movie where they're like, we can run away together. They're sort of like, they get drunk and they're sort of,
and she's clearly got like a femme fatale vibe. This whole thing is
exactly, but that's the whole thing. It's like, I don't think, the femme fatale aspect is definitely present because I don't think as viewers, we ever actually are supposed to trust her at all anyway, because she, like we said, she immediately offered money for him to kill her husband in return, so something's up with her. She does want to get away. She seduces him. They have sex, and it seems more, not like something she wouldn't do on her own anyway, but also she had ulterior motives because she's trying to get away. And she also wants to go back for the remainder of a big pile of cash that she knows exists that Michael doesn't. But it does seem like maybe at that point he could have bought that they were going to go to Mexico together. But by the end, when they escape, I think we knew that when she double crosses him, like that wasn't completely unexpected because at that point, she just wanted the money and not Michael. Throwing the money out of the train. I'm sorry, skipping right to the very end. But throwing the money out of the train and then throwing her out too is one of the funniest fucking things.
It's great.
like this guy, he just wants nothing to do. He doesn't want to. It's for him. If he can get out of this fucking town with like a zero-sum game, like nothing lost, nothing gained at all, but just like get out. Like that's all he needs. He doesn't need an extra. He does actually wind up with.
He gets a few thousand.
He gets a couple. He gets a stack. But yeah. So then comes the whole thing of like what she says actually exists as far as insurance money, and they have to go back to Wayne's office and go into the floor safe. And this is when Wayne actually shows up and gets arrested himself because the flyer's out. And things just all start converging. And this is when Lyle starts becoming more of the major, like immediate villain of the movie.
Yeah.
Because he's like, all these guys have money. Everything's going to shit here. So he's going to basically take them all hostage and lead, ask, because the money that Suzanne thinks is in the safe is not there. So he forces them all to basically go to a graveyard. But to do this, he has to get Wayne out of jail. And it is funny that he sets a fire in a house that I feel like wouldn't have been easily noticeable by anyone.
Right.
Feels like it's in the middle of nowhere.
Town.
Yeah. So, but it still draws one deputy away, and he gets to go in and kill the other.
A nice. Again, I like little moments like this. It doesn't need to be explained fully, but Wayne yelling "no" when the deputy is killed is a nice little like nuanced moment because you could read into it that he worked with this guy, like he doesn't want to see him shot and killed in front of him.
Well, you do feel like with someone like Wayne, I can't remember his real name, but like he was a thief, and the ideal of stealing like nearly $2 million is so you can go somewhere and just be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There wasn't any like next score. His next score was killing his wife so that he could, I don't know, keep the rest of the money. I don't know what was going on necessarily, but
it did make me ask questions I've never asked though about because it's like they stole this money, they go to this little town, and then he became sheriff, which they mentioned he was elected sheriff. I'm like, wow, can you really be like in modern day society or 90s day society? Can you like have no like background as a law enforcement person?
You pre-internet, you could go to any town and say, hey, my name's Jake, and like that's it.
Make me sheriff.
Yeah, people, fucking fathers and husbands were leaving their families, moving 2 miles away and starting whole new lives with pre-internet. Like nobody went anywhere or knew anything.
As an aside, because it's the place where I put it in my notes, was me realizing of the 4 leads, JT Walsh is the only one who did not work with David Lynch. Because everyone had worked with him pretty recently. Well, Hopper was the longest away because of Blue Velvet, and then of course Lara from Boyle and Twin Peaks, and Nicolas Cage and Wild at Heart. So you've got a bunch of.
The question is, was Dwight Yoakam ever in a David Lynch movie?
I don't think so, but he seems like he could have been. Right?
I feel like he could have been, exactly. Right. I feel like he's primed and ready for something, because anyone who's in Crank High Voltage could be in a David Lynch movie.
Also, on the little aside there about Lynch, I just went to see Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me the other night at Alamo Drafthouse, which is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. Which notably, Lara Flynn Boyle is, noticeable by her absence, because she was the actor who like they needed the most, who decided she didn't want to do it and they had to recast the role, and she notably never came back again. She wasn't in The Return either. So it's just interesting to note, like this movie was done, I don't know if she literally did it instead of Fire Walk with Me, but certainly in the wake of Fire Walk with Me, this is what she was up to. And although I think Moira Kelly does a fine job.
I was going to say, speaking of fake Donna, whatever happened to Moira Kelly?
I don't know. Yeah.
What became of Moira Kelly? That's our next podcast.
She's good. I liked her.
It was interesting. I liked it.
Yeah.
Okay. We're just sort of getting into the end game here. I pre hitting the record button, I mentioned to Eric that this movie wasn't probably going to take a lot of time to get through, because it's kind of a straightforward film. It's kind of like an airport novel, like a thriller, a dime store book, and it's purposely designed to be that way. We're getting to the graveyard.
And again, and Wayne again. Giving Wayne, I think we're supposed to again take Wayne on the surface here, that he certainly has his nice moments, including saying to Lyle, let them both go. There's no point in killing them at this point, even though the movie began with him hiring someone to kill her. At this point, he's like, let them both go. If we're gonna take the money, I don't need them dead.
The only purely bad person here seems to be Lyle, except that he had a nice moment in the car with Michael at the beginning. So
again, which is the one place where I'm like, yeah, because he goes full Hopper evil in the second half, it feels like they lost a little bit of that early version of the character.
The graveyard scene after like a big sort of car stunt moment where outrunning a train and crossing the tracks. The graveyard scene is sort of like an example of like how to build tension, where 4 people are just sort of standing around, like hiding the keys, dropping the keys. What can I do? Open the box. If you shoot me though, the caretaker is going to come out, like all these different back and forth things. And what I want to mention here is he was fucking right about that caretaker. Like it seems like a bullshit like makeup. Yeah. It's like because that moment I was like, I'd kill him anyway and take my risk of the caretaker having to call the cops.
The caretaker and his wife.
They fucking Johnny on the spot, like, what the fuck was that? Ran right out of their house. Like as soon as he shot that gun.
Well, Wayne knows what he's talking about. Yes, it's very true. Also, by the way, this is where I put in my notes how good JT Walsh was, like when he's yelling, "Stop moving." He's acting against 2 actors here who are known for going very big and showy and are great. But JT Walsh can be like so like intense in his own way, and so I really like him in the midst of all this graveyard shenanigans.
The caretaker and his wife were probably waiting right at the door, looking out, like Al Bundy was when Peg kept telling him she ordered him a pizza, but she really didn't. Right. And he's so excited that he keeps waiting at the door for a pizza that's never going to come. So that's what I imagine.
And then Lyle kind of like a little bit I can't say out of nowhere. I mean, he is a hired hitman, but it's a funny thing that we kind of never
the
see
thrown knife.
throwing
Yeah.
the knife. Yeah. Like when he throws
You do
that
feel
knife.
like that would be something that would, again, telegraphed maybe earlier. He does it for
Right.
some reason. Like maybe you see that he at the bar scene, he's good at darts or anything. You know what I mean? And then we get basically a big fight. Wayne catches a knife in the neck. I think Michael's shot in the leg.
Wayne also gets hit by a bag of money because Lawrence Boyle is such a kind of a shit to him at this point.
A year later, a bag of money will explode in his face and he'll go, "My money!" In Speed. Okay. And
Hopper, I was saying, it was JT Walsh.
JT Walsh gets hit with money. That's true. While he's already on the ground with a knife in his neck, exactly. And then Hopper gets stabbed with a statue. I think the symbology, there was a symbolism there that was a soldier and a rifle or something, and that was like the veterans duking it out, and the statue stabs him, but that doesn't kill him because then she's got to basically riddle him with bullets. Suzanne takes down, or actually at this point her name is Anne.
Right.
Kills Lyle,
which saves Cage, but you still like, even if we didn't see what happens next, there'd still be that ambiguity of like, well, this guy's a threat to her too. So it's like, yes, she saves, Michael, but she be in danger if she didn't shoot him Lyle at that moment.
And then when they get away on the train at the end, and that's when we realize when she turns on him, Michael either he had already put it together, or in that moment he did, that she shot the ranch hand who she was probably also had seduced, when he had outlived his usefulness. And so she was always it was always a solo act with her. She never did that to Wayne. It seems like a new trait for her, but yeah. And I do like that, like going back to what you said about JT Walsh, like actively caring about people in different moments when he didn't previously. And it's just like, if this is a con man who stole money from I can't remember what it was, some steel mill or something, and went to a small town and actively put in the work to become sheriff like that.
Right.
So yeah, he's going to have a relationship with his deputies who he probably handpicked and trained. I don't know what the story is here, but
also it's ambiguous whether he might survive, because yes, he's stabbed, but he's still sitting up. When the cops show up, he points to the train. So last we know, he is still alive.
I wonder how the caretakers feel about that train going by their house, because that's noise too.
That's very noisy. Also, again, it's one of those things. It's not like it doesn't ruin the movie for me. It's just it's movie logic, because the fact is that train would be stopped because he lets the cops know, Wayne, that's where they are, and they're gonna. At the end we see they're driving and they're gonna catch up to Laura Flynn Boyle with the money. But she would probably also at this point even say that the other guys on the train, like someone would stop that train, but it's okay. Like it symbolically works, as like you said, as far as him,
like it achieved its goal. Whether it stopped eventually, we don't know, but it achieved its goal that it took him out of Red Rock, which is what he was trying to do. He says, "Adios, Red Rock," and "Fade to Dwight Yoakam" song.
Fade to Yoakam. I forgot to mention a funny slight runner in this movie, because it happens twice, is first with Hopper and then with Laura Flynn Boyle. People really, really kind of forcing Nicolas Cage to have a drink with them. Like very like, because he keeps trying to leave Dennis Hopper, who's like, come on, I'm not good enough to have a drink with you. And then Laura Flynn Boyle, when she seduces him, he's like trying like let's go, come on, have a drink. I'm like, what's with this? People like just want to fucking drink with Michael. I mean, it's two.
What if on the train he finds the hobo from Pee-wee's Big Adventure and he wants him to have a drink?
Jimmy Crack Corn. Yeah. My friend April and I once made ourselves laugh like silly, recounting that scene and singing that song,
because it's a perfect scene. It's a perfect cinematic moment.
It's very true. In fact, I choose to believe that is what happened next. For Michael.
I choose to believe that's what influenced him throwing Laura Flynn Boyle off the train at the end of this movie. Right. Is Pee-wee getting basically sick of a delightful hobo singing
screaming
fucking campfire songs to the point where he hurls himself off a speeding locomotive.
It's funny because obviously this happened within like 20 seconds, but when Michael throws the money off the train. I would think she would jump after it, given how desperate she was to have it, but then he just pushes her right after. So I was like, all right.
Yeah, well, she gets her money. Maybe she got away. Maybe we're due for a decades later Red Rock West.
Return to Red Rock. Yes.
And he's like, no, the place I never wanted to return to.
But this was a cool movie. Like, again, it's not like breaking new boundaries or anything, but it's a cool what it's trying to accomplish. I think it does very well. The Western, modern day Western noir, it does really well. And we should mention also the strange way this movie was released, which was playing on HBO several times and then getting a theatrical release and kind of becoming a little bit of an art house sensation several months later. And sort of critics kind of like, we're kind of, it never became like a Tarantino type, like true breakout.
No,
but it was very notable and unusual that it would be on HBO. And then after that play in theaters.
Tarantino would crack the criminal movie code, which is like, you got to have your characters talk about pop culture.
Right. Well, yeah.
Yeah, I have to talk about things people can relate to. No one talks about
Reservoir Dogs had come out in 92, and I was like, they're talking about the Lost Boys? They're talking about
Madonna? Yeah.
What the hell?
This is crazy.
This is crazy. But I quite enjoyed this. I'm
glad you did. Yeah, this has always been sort of a sleeper favorite of mine. I hadn't seen it in a long while though, so it was good to revisit. Next week, everyone, Face Off. I want to.
And if you've been waiting to see Nicolas Cage, has you
go banana batshit? Yeah. As other notable actors have became over the years parodies of themselves in some way. You can look at Pacino and De Niro, where after years of us also watching people impersonate them, the actors almost sort of tend to merge with the impersonation a little bit.
Right.
In their, what started as a hoo-ah in Scent of a Woman became 2 decades of hoo-ahs after that. So, Nicolas Cage is kind of in that vein a little bit because he's got sort of one direction of crazy, and we've seen it for a lot of time, many, many years, but there are times when it works super great, and Face Off is one of them.
Sure does.
Oh, I tried to mute, but I wound up catching
it was like you were underlining what we just said.
Yeah, I caught half a cough with that. Okay, let's wrap it up here, and until next time, everything is possible, but nothing is real. And Shakma.